O Lord, you have searched me and known me. You know when I sit down and when I rise up. You discern my thoughts from far away. You search out my path and my lying down, and are acquainted with all my ways. Even before a word is on my tongue, O Lord, you know it completely. You hem me in, behind and before, and lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is so high that I cannot attain it. Where can I go from your spirit? Or where can I flee from your presence? If I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in Sheol, you are there. If I take the wings of the morning and settle at the farthest limits of the sea, even there your hand shall lead me and your right hand shall hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me and the light around me become night, even the darkness is not dark to you. The night is as bright as the day, for darkness is as light to you. For it was you who formed my inward parts. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works, that I know very well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was being made in secret, intricately woven in the depths of the earth. Your eyes beheld my unformed substance. In your book were written all the days that were formed for me, when none of them as yet existed. How weighty to me are your thoughts, O God. How vast is the sum of them. I try to count them. They are more than the sand. I come to the end, and I am still with you. Here ends the reading. In his book, Leave Only Footprints, journalist Connor Knighton writes, when the great sand dunes first come into view, you're sure they're an illusion, a mistake, as if two slides somehow got stuck in the projector at the same time. The top half of the frame is filled with the snow-capped Sangre de Cristo Mountains, the southernmost range of the Rockies, dotted with clusters of spruce and pine. This is the Colorado you expect. But just below the mountains, it looks like the Sahara has been transposed onto the landscape. Rolling dune fields stretch out for miles and miles, whipped by the wind into new golden formations each day. Knighton is right. The great sand dunes are a marvel. They are a mystery. What is it doing there, all that sand? By some estimates, there are nearly 5 billion cubic meters of sand in the dunes alone, not counting the sand down in the valley below and the sand in the flats that stretch beyond the dunes. How did it get there? And what is it doing there right in the middle of Colorado, for crying out loud, with nary a beach in sight for thousands of miles? Brad Lyons and Bruce Barkhauer explain in America's Holy Ground, our guide for this series. Winds, they say, in central Colorado blow from the southwest, eroding tiny pieces of the San Juan Mountains that become the blowing sand. But the wind cannot carry the sand over the towering Sangre de Cristos. So staggeringly huge piles of sand collect at the mountain range's base, piles that would reach higher than the tallest buildings in 34 states. Piles that reach up to 750 feet and more, taller than a 50-story building. That's how tall these dunes are. Even when the wind is still, they write, there is movement all around. A single afternoon can bring multiple storms, wind blowing sand into your face and scouring your bare legs, cold rain soaking your clothes, and then 15 minutes later, the sun has dried out your shirt and you're hot again. And you cannot see it, but billions of grains of sand have just washed downhill, or settled as the rain realigned and rearranged the ever-settling dunes. And now more sand carried in by the storm, is drying and settling into the dunes, while the wind has carried aloft the lightest sand into the sky. Maybe it will clear the mountain range, or maybe it will take months or years to roll back downhill. Over and over again it goes. The wind blows and the sand rises and it mounds up before ultimately rolling back down again, only to begin the cycle all over again. Rise, mound, roll back down. Rise, mound, roll back down. It repeats, and then it repeats again. For thousands of years it has repeated. When we look at the great sand dunes, Lyons and Barkhauer write, we are seeing the accumulation of thousands of years of the wind's work. The sand is pushed back and forth, over and over again. Rise, mound, roll back down. Through the circle, fast and slow, it goes. And isn't this just like life? Can I get an amen? We often talk about life as a timeline, a nice, orderly, horizontal thing with a beginning and an end, and all these points in between, usually equidistant from each other. You know, this is like time marching on. This is how we think about time. But I don't know about you, that is not how my life has looked. Anybody have a nice, orderly timeline in here? Anybody out there have a nice, orderly timeline? My life has not been an arrow straight shot progression, one step and then another, lined up in neat and tidy little equidistant segments. My life has looked more like a spiral. Or if I'm being honest, a spaghetti bowl squiggle. I keep coming back around to the same things over and over again, learning the same lessons, stumbling over the same cracks in the sidewalk, facing the same demons. Now, in theory, each time I spiral back around, hopefully I'm a little wiser, hopefully I know myself a little better, hopefully I'm a little more equipped to handle the cracks in the sidewalk, whatever comes my way, but still round and round it goes, through the circle, fast and slow, rise, mound, roll back down. Rise, mound, roll back down. I think our psalmist had this kind of life too. Not a neat arrow straight shot, but a spiral, a spaghetti bowl squiggle. I get the impression from reading Psalm 139 that our friend has been through it all. And not just once either. I get the impression that he's been through it enough times to recognize it when it comes back around again. Each swing around in the bend and each twist in the squiggle, he knows. Ah, yes. If I ascend to heaven, you are there. That is his testimony born of experience. This guy has known triumphs. Highs so high, he can't even see the ground anymore. He's known moments so powerful, so transcendent, like it feels like he can reach out and touch the throne of God, see the face of God. His spirit has soared. It has ascended all the way to heaven. He has been on holy ground where we started this service. He has been on holy ground with a spirit so light that nothing could hold him down. And yet, in the very next verse, if I make my bed in Sheol, you are there. He's been there too, enough times to recognize the presence of God in the darkest darkness. In the Old Testament, Sheol is understood to be the place where the dead go, but not just the dead in body, also the dead in spirit. Sheol is the place where the dead go. Our friend is telling us that he has been in those depths. He has been in that pit. He has been lost in a dark sea and drowning in despair. He has wandered through his days, not full of life, but rather as a mere shadow of himself. He has been in Sheol, dusty dry like the sand, and burned out and worn down with nothing left. He has been there. And even in those times, he has recognized that the presence of God has met him there and held him fast. He's been down that road to Sheol just as sure as he has been sky high. And then, if I take the wings of the morning, you are there. Somehow, some way, in the midst of his despair, our friend has caught a glimmer of hope. Can you see him there? Collapsed in a heap at first, worn down by the struggle, with no energy even to lift his head. Spend a minute and picture him there in a heap on the floor. But then can you hear it? The hint of a whisper. The hint of a whisper steals on his ear. Yes, there is possibility. And yes, there is promise. And yes, there is hope. See him there. See him raise his head just a little bit. Feel his spirit soar as he gets himself to his feet. His feet. As he gets himself to his feet and he realizes new life is possible for me. Finally taking the wings of the morning into a new dawn, a new beginning. Or maybe not. Because the very next phrase is, if I settle at the farthest limits of the sea, you are there. Now maybe those wings of the morning have helped him, rather than rise up to a new beginning, maybe those wings of the morning have helped him run away. Helped him escape from those things he'd rather not face. Hide from those things that scare him. If I settle at the farthest limits of the sea, if I go far, far, far away enough, I won't have to face this. I think we can all agree that that never works. And I'm sure he has learned this lesson more than once. I know that I have learned this lesson more than once. Because even at the farthest limits of the sea, surely the darkness shall cover me, and the light around me become night. Oh man, we can hear him saying from here, how did I get here again? How did I get in the darkness again, in the pit again? Round and round he goes, rise up mound, roll back down, through the circle, fast and slow he goes. Psalm 139 is a psalm of life. It is a psalm about life, real life, spiral bound, spaghetti bowl life. Rise, mound, roll back down life. Repeat and all over again life. Back and forth, over and over, pushed by the winds, life. High so high we are lighter than air, low so low they drag us straight right down to the pit. Hopes that come with the dawn, fears that lead us chasing an escape. And then rats back into darkness. This is life. This is the mirror that Psalm 139 is showing us. Round and round it goes, through the circle, fast and slow, learning the same lessons, stumbling over the same cracks in the sidewalk, facing the same demons. But Psalm 139 is not just a psalm, a mirror psalm, a reality psalm. Psalm 139 is also a psalm of good news. And this is it. Through it all, no matter where, no matter when, no matter how, through it all, God is there. There is no place we can go where God is not. There is nothing we can do that will chase God away. When we rise, God is there. When we sit down, God is there. When we go out and when we come back, God is there. No matter where our thoughts take us, God is there. In the highs, yes, of course, but also in the lows, God is there. In the new beginnings, yes, certainly, but also when we are so scared, we can't think of anything else but running away. God is there, never turning his back on us, never abandoning us to fend for ourselves. No matter where or how we find ourselves, God is there to lead us and to hold us fast. This is the good news that Psalm 139 proclaims, a constant presence in a mountain of endless change. Which, interestingly enough, is true for the dunes too. For all the movement around there, the dunes themselves have stayed remarkably stable. There is very little change from year to year, even in the midst of all that change. In fact, on the Park Service website, you can find a photograph from 1873. And they have it right above a photograph from, I think it's 2011. And you can see the dunes are like almost exactly in the same position and the same shape. The more things change, the more they stay the same. How is that? How can so much sand get moved around again and again, gust after gust, and storm after storm, and year after year, and it is still the same? The scientists tell us that opposing wind directions balance each other out over time at the Great Sand Dunes National Park. And also, the main dune field is moist beneath that first top layer of dry sand. And so in windstorms, it's only the top parts that get blown around while the base stays the same. That's the science. But I love the underlying theological message here. In a mountain of endless change, we know the steady, constant presence of God that will not let us blow around heedlessly in the wind, but instead anchors us in life. Great Sand Dunes is one of the few national parks I have actually visited. Only I was there in 2001, 3 years before it officially became a national park, but I think that counts, right? I went with a group of high school youth from Lakewood Christian Church in Waco. If you have ever been to my office and you have seen the river rafting pictures that are on my office wall, that's that same group of kids. That's the same year. They are now in their 30s. Some of them are watching. Hello. We had been in Pueblo, Colorado for the week doing kind of Operation Inasmuch style work for various homeowners around the city. And it was a great week. I mean, we all got along super well. So that alone puts it in the top 5 of youth trips. You know, like there were no interpersonal problems that whole week. We worked hard, we played hard, we tried to visit the top of Pikes Peak, but the poor church vans just couldn't make it up the mountain, you know, loaded with all of these kids. When the Pikes Peak roadside assistance crew had to rescue us a second time with transmission fluid, one of the guys said, "Ma'am, I think you're going to have to give up." So we pulled into the nearest scenic overlook and waited for the vans to cool down while we ate Pop-Tarts, looking out over the trees and the beautiful Colorado mountainside. We had a milk chug-a-lugging contest at our host church that's on tape somewhere. And of course, we went whitewater rafting, as you can see from that photo, the 4 photos in my office. But before we left Colorado, like on our way out of the state, we were going to make it to Lubbock, which was another, 7 hours away from there. So we were on our way out of the state. I was like, we have got to stop and see these great sand dunes. So we did. I have a video of the kids there. They were running up the dunes. They were barrel rolling down the dunes. And of course, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, all that sand, and they have to ride in the vans for 7 hours. Like, it's going to be awful. But anyway, they were barrel rolling down the dunes. They were sprawled out on the dunes. They were playing football on the dunes. And one young puppy love couple was walking hand in hand on the dunes. For our post-trip slideshows, so that church was very generous, as this church is, with the kids, and they would help us raise money all year long. And then when we would get back at the end of the mission trip, we always did a a slideshow, but it wasn't really slides, it was a video presentation so they could see our trip. So at our post-trip slideshow that we did for the congregation, we slowed down that video of the kids playing in the dunes, and we set it to music. We set it to Bob Dylan's Forever Young, as a matter of fact. And even though it's been years since I've seen that video, I do have it. It's stashed away somewhere. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I can still see it. Like, I can still see it in my mind's eye at the different parts in the song, what the kids were doing in the video. I can still see them playing and laughing and falling and spinning. Rise, mound, roll back down. Rise, mound, roll back down. Having their whole lives ahead of them, not yet aware of how life would almost certainly take them back again, over and over, through the circle, fast and slow. Rise, mound, roll back down. Rise, mound, roll back down, back and forth, and then again. It's the movement of life. Forever Young by Bob Dylan. May God bless and keep you always. May your wishes all come true. May you always do for others and let others do for you. May you build a ladder to the stars and climb on every rung. And may you stay forever young. May you grow up to be righteous. May you grow up to be true. May you always know the truth and see light surrounding you. May you always be courageous. Stand upright and be strong. And may you stay forever young. May your hands always be busy. May your feet always be swift. May you have a strong foundation when the winds of changes shift. May your heart always be joyful. May your song always be sung. And may you stay forever young.